So you just closed on your home and you have the keys in your hand for the very first time. What happens next? Well, some of us may feel a little bit overwhelmed or feel that the process went incredibly quickly, so have had zero time to prepare. And this is why in this video, I'm going to give you extremely actionable steps to take next that are designed to save you money, save you time, and save you from a lot of stress. And if we're just meeting, my name is Jaime Resendiz. Welcome to the DFW Homeowner YouTube channel, where you'll find real estate information that no one else is sharing with you. All right, so now that we've closed on the property and have that key in hand, here's exactly what happens next. And we're gonna start off by things that you need to do within the next 48 hours. In fact, some of these items you probably were already asked to do as a prerequisite for you to actually be able to close. First off, you need home insurance. Now, if you bought the home with the loan, this is actually something that would be required prior to you closing. That's a condition of you getting the loan. Now, if you bought it in cash, no one's actually requiring you to have home insurance. So you can choose to take that gamble and not insure that huge asset and really pray and hope that nothing happens to the property. But for the most part, most of you are gonna have a home insurance policy, and please take some time to review it. See what's actually covered in your policy versus what isn't. How much of your personal property is insured? What type of deductible can you expect if you have to replace your roof? These are all items that in theory you should already know, given that your home insurance provider gave you this information. But let's face it, you just closed on the property, which means in the past 25 days or so, you've been asked for everything under the sun from your lender, your title company, your realtor, and on and on. So you probably didn't look that carefully, so now it's time to do that. And make note that you are able to change your home insurance provider relatively easily. Now, another super vital item that you must take care of within the next 48 hours is changing locks and resetting entry codes. I know you just got your keys and probably got a code to either access the garage or the front door, but please change out your locks and also go to YouTube and figure out how to reset door entry codes. Now, I get it, some of us trust more than others, but even if that homeowner that sold you that home was the nicest person in the world, you don't know if the previous homeowner was that trustworthy. So please get in your car right now and drive over to Home Depot or log in at Amazon.com and get some new locks. I cannot stress this enough. This is your safety. This is your family's safety that we're talking about. Now, another thing to do within the first 48 hours is ensure that all of your utilities are connected. We're talking electricity, water, gas, internet, anything that you're going to need to actually make that home livable. Now, this is also one of those items that you probably already took care of before you actually closed on the home. Now, this becomes extremely important, especially if you're closing on Fridays, because some of the service providers don't work weekends. So you can quickly find yourself without water for an entire weekend if the homeowners shut off the water service. And you're not able to get a hold of the city if that's who provides your water. Because as we know, most government offices don't operate on the weekends. And while you're on the phone or on the city websites, go ahead and double check when garbage collection comes around. And if there's any special requirements for the bins to use, the fees that you have to pay, and how recycling works. And another very pressing item that you want to take care of sooner rather than later is transferring and forwarding your mail. Forward your mail through the USPS office. Head over to USPS online and forward your mail, and systematically continue to update your address with everybody that you can think of, like banks, your employer, Amazon, and anywhere that you go to order things online. Now, those are the things that you want to focus on for the first 48 hours. Those are super pressing. The next block of things that we're going to discuss on what to do after you close on your home can take a little bit more time to execute. So for this next block, go ahead and give yourself about a week to do this. Now, before you actually move into your home, it's advisable that you perform a deep clean. Be thorough with cleaning the floors, appliances, and any surfaces. Now, here again, this is a first week task, given that many home buyers do not move into their home immediately. So if you can avoid it, don't race to move in and put all of your belongings into a home that you barely even know. Invest $300 to $500 to do a deep clean on the entire home. Or go in yourself with your family and do a deep clean. Because you don't know how the previous family took care of the property. You don't know how many times that carpet was actually cleaned. And not very many home sellers do a deep clean of their property as they're moving out. which is why I make it a practice within my real estate group to not only educate home sellers to do so, and or if they don't have the budget, we actually cover that expense for them. So if you ever buy one of the properties that we personally list, they are going to be professionally cleaned. And something else you'll want to do within that first week is locating any emergency shutoff valves. Primarily find your main water shutoff valve, because in case of an emergency, you're going to need to know where that is. Take me as an example. My very first home I bought back in 2015 in October. And within about a week, a pipe that connected to the hot water heater actually broke, which unfortunately was located in the attic. And by the time I figured out what the heck was going on and figured out how to actually turn off the water, which there was a valve in front of the house that I didn't know even existed, the damage was already done. But thankfully, I did have home insurance, and after $60,000 worth of repairs, I had a brand new home. Now, if you're buying a brand new home, chances are you're going to go through what's called a home orientation, where the builder themselves are going to tell you where this type of shutoff actually is. But if you're buying a resale home, you have to figure that out for yourself. So make sure that you know where these emergency shutoffs are. Another thing to do within that first week of closing is setting up a home filing system. Keep your home related documents organized, know where they are. I like to keep the filing system extremely simple. The important documents and everything else house related. Under the important documents, you're basically gonna file away anything that you received as paperwork when you closed at the title company. You're gonna have all the documents that you signed, but most importantly, you're gonna also receive your home survey, which is essentially a visual representation of what you actually purchased and is an expensive document to replace whenever you have to sell your house again and you can't find it. So whenever you're closing at the title company and you hear, this is your survey, make note that that's a $600 piece of paper that you're being handed. Now, you also want to keep home warranty documents on that important file as well. And we'll talk about home warranties later on in the video. Now, the other pile within your filing system is basically everything else. Most of the other items are going to be manuals on the appliances that you purchase. So what I do with my important stuff, I just go ahead and keep it in the safe. And for all my other home related stuff, I just throw into a drawer that I know that I'll never need for my personal day-to-day use and that I'll probably never open again. Now, for the following item, you probably already looked this up. And in fact, it was one of the biggest reasons that you ended up buying the particular home that you just closed on. And that is checking your school district information. If you have kids, you probably already know the school district that they're going into, but you'll still need more molecular information such as bus schedules. So within that first week, you'll absolutely need to know all the ins and outs. And now this is gonna sound pretty obvious, but sometimes we kind of miss it. And that's unpack your moving boxes. Within your first week, go ahead and do your best to unpack as much as possible. Don't let the moving process linger any longer than it needs to, because we can quickly find ourselves with boxes in the corner of the room, in the corner of the garage, in the attic, thinking that at some point we'll find some time to unpack. The reality is that we're gonna forget about those boxes, and the next time that we're gonna see those same boxes is when we're moving again. So really prioritize unpacking those boxes. And here's the thing, some of those items that you went through the trouble of packing and moving over to your new house, you probably don't even need. So give yourself permission to let go of a few things. Give yourself permission to go down to the shelter and donate those clothes. And here again, I share this out of personal experience. Within the first 5 years that I lived in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, I moved 4 times. And it didn't fail that there was about 3 to 4 boxes that continued to make the move with me, even though I never unpacked them. Now for a quick summary. What we just covered are the first 7 days of you closing on your home. Those are items that you're gonna wanna take care of within that first week of closing. Now, the following items that we're gonna address are items that you wanna take care of within the first 30 days of closing on your home. So let's start off by updating our personal records. Since you're moving to a new address, you're gonna need a new driver's license. You need to register to vote at your new address. You're gonna also need to update your vehicle registration. And the list goes on and on. There's a lot of personal information that you need to update. Now, this is significantly different than you simply forwarding your mail at the post office. This is you updating the rest of your accounts, especially financial institutions, because they're going to continue sending out your personal statements and oftentimes include very sensitive information that you don't want to share with anybody else. As an example, if you're a business owner, go into the Secretary of State and update your mailing address. Update your information with the IRS, with the banks that you use, and any credit card companies that you happen to have a card with. Make an extensive list of every company or organization that you need to update your information with, and then simply check them off one by one so you don't miss a single item. And speaking of making a list, let's talk about a lengthy one that you probably saw as you were purchasing your property. And that is your home inspection report. It's time to review it and take some action. Listen, if you bought a resale, chances are you hired an inspection company to go out to the property that you ended up purchasing and give you a detailed report. And I can guarantee you they brought up a lot of things that you didn't have the opportunity to negotiate. Now is the time to revisit that list and use that as your repair list. Take that report and identify which repairs you plan to do right now and which repairs you can do in the future. Do not do what so many homeowners end up doing, which is being a hypocrite. Let me explain. When you initially did that home inspection at the beginning of your real estate purchase, I guarantee you that you wish all of the items from electrical to plumbing, foundation, and everything was addressed by the present homeowner. You put so much energy into that 70+ page report and really wanted everything addressed. Now, of course, that wasn't feasible nor a reality. The homeowner was not going to address every single item on that inspection report. Well, now fast forward to when that home is yours, it's all of a sudden so convenient to forget the items on that list and push them off for later. And we all know that later never comes. All of a sudden, something that was so important for us at that point in time ceased being any priority for us. And that's because, of course, now it involved our time. Now it involved our resources. So for us, it's a lot easier to just ignore. And I'm not judging you. I myself continue to fall into that trap. With every home purchase that I make, I continue to do the exact same thing. So hopefully you're much better at learning from your mistakes than I am. Now, another really good practice is for you to create a home inventory list. This is where you document items that you own, especially the valuable ones. We're talking electronics, collectibles, jewelry, appliances, and on and on. You want to document those items by taking pictures and or taking video of those assets, because heaven forbid down the road, somebody breaks into your house and steals them. Because if that were to happen, you want to have proof that you actually owned those items. Listen, we all know that insurance companies will do everything possible not to pay out a claim. So do not make it easier on them to say no. And another item you'll want to take care of within the first 30 days of you closing is reviewing your mortgage terms. Sure, you probably know your interest rate and your loan term, but please make sure that you understand your payment schedule. Because what's going to happen within a few weeks of you actually closing, the loan that you got from a Wells Fargo, from a Chase, from whatever other lender out there is going to be sold. It's going to be sold to what's known as a mortgage servicer, who you're essentially going to be making your mortgage payment to. In fact, it's very rare that you're even going to make your first payment to whomever it is that lent you the money in the first place. Your first actual payment of your mortgage is going to happen about 60 days after closing. Now, of course, it could be sooner, but it can also be later. So make sure that you know when you need to be making that payment. So be very vigilant with your mail, because you will be mailed about it. You're going to be notified that your loan was sold, and you're also going to be notified on where you need to be making that mortgage payment. So once you know where you're going to be making that payment, make sure that you enroll to their online portal. And to make it super easy on yourself, go ahead and enroll in auto pay. That way you don't have to worry about the payments being made. Now also, when it comes to your mortgage, ensure that the payments that you're making are covering what you think they're covering. Because in a mortgage payment, it's usually divided into 4 items: the principal, the interest, the property taxes, and the home insurance. And most loans will go to cover those 4 items, but not all of them. In some cases, the lender will actually allow you as the borrower to pay your property taxes on your own behalf, as opposed to you paying them within your mortgage payment, where the lender will put those into escrow and they will be making that mortgage payment on your behalf. And same thing with that home insurance. They're going to be making that home insurance premium payment. But that's not always the case. That's the standard, but it's not always the case. So make sure that you verify that. And another item to take care of within your first 30 days is setting up your security system. Either reset the alarm system that's already been installed in your home, or go ahead and get a new system. Now, the good thing with security systems is that they're no longer as expensive as they used to be. At the beginning, it seemed that ADT had a monopoly on the entire situation, but now you can simply get a Ring camera from Amazon for a few bucks, install it yourself, and boom, you're up and running. And since we're talking about safety, let's keep it going. It's time to test your smoke and carbon monoxide detectors. Go ahead and buy a bulk of batteries and start testing your detectors to see if they go off. And if they don't go off, of course, replace the batteries. Now, if that doesn't work, chances are you have a non-working detector. Now, this is an item that will probably come up in your home inspection report, but it doesn't always. So here again, your family's safety is your responsibility. Now, something else that is very easy to do, yet so challenging to remember, is replacing your HVAC filters. So once you get into your home, go ahead and replace them and get into the habit of changing them every 2 to 4 months. This is one of those items that fits a subscription model incredibly well. You can subscribe online to have them ordered and delivered to you whenever it is that you want to change them. And here's a pro tip. When you change your filter, go ahead and label the date that you changed it. So as an example, if the unit is in the attic, go ahead and take a Sharpie up there and leave it up there. So every time you change the filter, you can just write in the date. Now, another thing to do within your first 30 days of closing is go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off and go meet your neighbors. The longer that you delay going over to your neighbors, knocking on that door and introducing yourself, the less likely that you're gonna do it. It may feel a little bit uncomfortable, but trust me, it isn't. It's going to be welcome. Head over, introduce yourself, make a good connection, and I encourage you to go ahead and exchange phone numbers, because there is going to be that time when you go on vacation and you just can't remember if you closed the garage door. And you sure as heck aren't going to come back from your drive to the airport to come and check it. So it'd be very advantageous if you could just text your neighbor and ask them to check it for you. And if that example sounds oddly specific, know that there's a reason that I'm bringing it up. Another thing to do within your first 30 days is adjust the water pressure and the heat. Listen, some of us really like our showers, and we really get accustomed to the water pressure and the heat, which are not that difficult to adjust for the entire house. As an example, if you want to adjust the temperature of your water heater, all you have to do is go to your water heater and turn a knob. The next item to address is one that may sound like it's a tough thing to do, but it really is super simple. And that is sealing the gaps in your windows and doors. Listen, the gaps that are in your doors and in your windows cost you money. And with a couple of bucks in a few hours, you can save yourself hundreds of dollars every single year. You can seal unnecessary gaps with weather stripping or caulking to improve energy efficiency. And here again, this is something that I myself need to do as I sit and breathe, because I recently moved into this house, which was built in the early 2000s. And instantly I saw all of my expenses go up, from water, electricity, gas, everything. And that's largely because this home is not as energy efficient as my previous home, which was a new build. In fact, I'm paying at least 20% more for my utilities right now, even though the size of the home is pretty much the same. So any little improvement when it comes to energy efficiency is gonna help. Now, if you're still with me, thank you. We still have a little bit more to go, but I wanted to show my appreciation. So if you're still here and are finding value, go ahead and comment closed down below. Now, the next thing to do within your first 30 days of closing is locating essential services. Know where your hospital is, the fire department, your police station, the grocery stores that you shop, and the pharmacies that you need. Sure, you can Google these at any time. However, some of these essential services you don't have a lot of time to find. As an example, in an emergency, you do need to know where that hospital is, especially if we're talking about you having insurance. There are certain providers that will be covered in your insurance, and there's others that are going to leave you out of pocket expense. Now, this is super important, especially if you have insurance, because as we know, the healthcare industry here in the United States is not all that great, especially if you have a certain health insurance where you know some of the providers that might be closer to you may not be in network. And the last thing you want is to be out of network and be on the hook for thousands and thousands of dollars if an emergency arises. So again, let's prep now in case you ever gash your finger wide open to where it almost falls off and you find yourself trying to figure out which hospital network can actually take you to stitch you back up. And here again, this is another example that may sound extremely specific. And since we're already talking about preparing, let's talk about preventative home maintenance. Within the first days of moving in, go ahead and drain your water heater. Make sure that it's cleaned out. Oftentimes, people can go years and years and years, in fact, the entire lifetime of a water heater, and never drain it. Go ahead and clean your gutters at the earliest convenience. Leaving them unattended is bad news. Trim those tree branches away from your roof, especially if you're in an icy area and or a windy area, because those branches will damage your roof, which now is also a good time for you to secure your vendors. You most likely moved to an area that your previous vendors won't service. So take this time to find your preferred landscaping company, your new pool company, or your new house cleaners. Now is a really good time for you to get a fresh start. Now, there's too many vendors to talk about, so just prioritize the ones that you know you need. Whether that's an electrician, a plumber, a dog walker, whomever it is that is helping your family and or maintain your home, go ahead and find them. Now, before we get to the yearly list, I want to address one more item within the 30 days of closing, and that is reviewing your HOA rules. Listen, I recognize that nobody likes the HOA. But at the end of the day, if your home happens to be in an HOA, you have to abide by what they have going on. So get familiar with the rules, know what the fees are and how to pay them, or you can find yourself with the lien on your property. If you move into a home with an HOA, please make sure that you find their online portal as quickly as possible. Because remember, your HOA payment is not included in your mortgage payment. The HOA most likely is going to be something that you're paying yearly or semi-yearly, and that is independent of your mortgage payment. So you have to log into these online portals and make these payments. And now we get to the yearly timeline, what to do at least a year from closing. Now, this yearly timeline is designed to catch everybody that closes, regardless if you closed in February, June, October, December, it doesn't matter. This is something that you'll want to do within the year. First off is applying for the homestead exemption. This does vary state by state, but here in Texas, it is extremely important because it saves you so much money in property taxes. And it also does protect your home from being foreclosed on in the event that you defraud people out of hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now, I'm not going to mention any names.
A lot of them said that you still owe them thousands of dollars.
Yeah. Okay, so this conversation's done. You can talk to my attorney.
Another thing you'll want to do within the year of closing is shopping your home insurance around. Insurance rates change all the time, and chances are when you were going through the purchase of your home, you might not had enough time to actually shop your home insurance around. But now that you're closed and don't have a billion things to do within those 25 days of closing, now's a really good time to get a better rate. Another thing to know is getting your finances right. Let your accountant know that you bought a home. There might be certain tax advantages that you might not be aware of. Now might also be a time to either set up or update your will or trust. And nobody likes to talk about this, but it also might be a good time for you to reassess your life insurance policy. And something that you absolutely don't want to miss, especially if you're here in Texas, is protesting your property taxes. Property taxes in Texas are among the highest in the country. So every single year, make it a point to protest your property taxes. And here's the thing, it doesn't matter if you lose this year. Try it again the year after that, the year after that, and on and on. Do not let a year go by without you protesting, because the more years that you let it go and continue to stack up, the more in property taxes that you're paying. Oh, and by the way, this actually goes back to a previous point that we just covered about your homestead exemption. Your homestead exemption will not only reduce the assessed value of your property when it comes to paying property taxes, but it also puts a cap on how much your property taxes can actually go up year over year. So make sure that with your property taxes, you protest every single year. And if we backtrack to the homestead exemption for one quick second, that you only have to do once. And the last thing that I'll say about the yearly timeline is monitor your major items. Inspect your foundation, your roof, your attic, your HVAC yearly. These are major items that if left to their own devices and unattended can cost you so much money. Now, before I forget, I want to share some pro tips. Number one, beware of scams. You just closed on your home. That means that you're going to get bombarded with mail. They're going to mail you about the homestead exemption, about property taxes, about home warranty, about everything. And while many of those are reputable companies trying to make a buck, there are a lot of scammers out there that are trying to steal from you. So what I recommend now that you've closed on your home, go ahead and freeze your credit with the 3 bureaus, which is free to do and you can unfreeze at any point in time. But it helps protect you from certain fraud. The second pro tip is set up some smart home technology. At this point, you can make most of your home pretty smart, from thermostats to lights to security and everything in between. And the most important thing is relax and enjoy your home. Now, if you found value in this video, check out this video next.